Welcome to the Dribble, Throw, and Drive podcast. My name is Ian Adams, and I'll be the host for this podcast. Today, I'll be talking about the NBA playoffs. What I'll be talking about is the strengths and weaknesses of every team, how I think they'll fare in playoffs, and what the keys are to winning the games and their matchups as of March 30th. I'll be talking about some of the other matchups too, just in case those happen, but it shouldn't be that much of a talking point. So, first team in the East, the Bucks. Right now, they're looking like they're going to have a 60-win season if they can win 3 out of their next 6. Should be pretty easy for them. Right now, they have injuries to Malcolm Brogdon and, Nikola Mirotic. What I think when they get in playoffs, their strengths are definitely their all-around team. Giannis, who I feel like is definitely my MVP because of the all-around effort he puts in and the winning his team does all season. He's definitely someone that is a game changer in playoffs. Probably one of the, I would say, I think he might be the best player right now, honestly. Just the all-around game he provides for his team. Right now his averages are 27 points, 12.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks. Shooting good percentages from the field, 58%. Definitely good all around besides the 3-point shot, which is something he has on his team to help him. Because players like Brogdon, once he gets back, Mirotic, Middleton, Lopez, definitely all those guys can help hit shots for him. He doesn't need to create all the offense on his own. He can pass it out to other people. Also, Bledsoe's another good person to help create offense. He can drive really well. Pretty sure his nickname's Mini Braun because he's like a miniature LeBron. So he's definitely someone that can help create some offense. And all of them are good all-around players. So for some players, of course, like Mirotic is not that great of a defender. Lopez, of course, is not as good of a defender. But players like Bledsoe, like I said, Giannis, Pau Gasol out of the bench. He's really old, but he's still a pretty good defender. Those guys can help put some defense. George Hill can defend some people probably. So I definitely say they're one of the teams to watch out for. Probably the team to watch out for in the East. I think people don't give them enough credit for how good they are. I think they could be the second best chance of being the Warriors besides the Rockets. It's just their all-around offense, defense. They're good at everything. I feel like their depth will definitely help in the playoffs and the amount of shooting they can provide around Giannis and let him kind of, if he doesn't have a great scoring night, he can rebound great and play defense great, and they'll still have a chance to win the game and blow people out just because how good rounded they are. The next team in the list is Toronto, the second seed. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me talk about the Bucks matchups. The Bucks right now will probably play the last seed, which is probably like Miami or Orlando. I think that's going to be an easy sweep for them, whoever they play. I don't think they have any really chance to beat them just because these lower teams like Miami isn't well-rounded, really. They don't have that many really stars to score for them. Like, they have to rely on Dwayne Wade. And that's like, when you're relying on a 38-year-old Dwayne Wade, you're probably not going to have a great night, Or actually, he might be only like 36, but still, he's not the Dwayne Wade of old. He's having a great season, being an all-star, having his goodbye season. Feel good for him. Hopefully he'll make the playoffs, but they're probably going to get swept. So, yeah, as they play Orlando, I just feel like Vucevic is not good enough to carry this team to beat the Bucks. I don't feel like has enough star power to bring them over that hump. So I don't think they can win a game, honestly. Just they don't have enough people yet. They're definitely one of the underrated teams, probably. But I don't think they're great. The Raptors are the second seed. Right now, they have a great all-around team as well. Their starting lineup is probably one of the best with Lowry, Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam, and Serge Ibaka. All of them are great defenders. Some of them are great offensive players. Kawhi Leonard, of course, one of the best two-way players in the league. One defensive player of the year, like the last 2 years before he was injured. Was an MVP candidate. This year, he was an MVP candidate at the beginning. Towards the middle, he kind of fell out. He's still doing really well for his team, helping his team win games, taking lots of rest for his injuries. I think the key to them is having them show up in playoffs. Last year with DeRozan, they had a horrible performance. Not really anyone showed up. DeRozan and Lowry both played pretty bad. So I think this year, since they have Kawhi and people like Marcus Gasol, Jeremy Lin, people who have been there before that they picked up this season, I feel like they have a much better chance. And then, of course, they're really deep. Like Fred VanVleet last year was a late six-man candidate, even though he wasn't as good as Lou Williams. The scoring he brought, their whole depth brought on like a big push for them. Before, of course, they played the Cavs and LeBron destroyed all of them, but, that's LeBron. So, when he's healthy and he's ready to play hard, like he did last year with the Cavs, then he can do anything. But, of course, the Raptors don't have to deal with him this year, luckily. In their first-round matchup, they'll probably be playing the Brooklyn Nets or Detroit Pistons. Both teams I feel like they have a clear advantage over. They're much better at being consistent in those teams. They're much better at playing an all-around game. I feel like the Nets are probably getting the biggest matchup problems because all of their depth is also pretty good. I feel like D'Angelo can probably go off on one of their guards on both Danny Green and Kyle Lowry. So that'd be someone to watch out for, but I think Kawhi Leonard and all their depth will be enough to just easily overcome that. Philadelphia, they're an interesting team. Their starting five is very, very good. They have players like, of course, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris. And then JJ Redick is pretty underrated. He's dropping like 17.6, I believe. Yeah, 17.6 points per game. Being a starter with that stacked big five and dropping that many points, it's like insane for a guard like JJ Redick to do that. I feel like the problem with them is they're not deep really at all. Besides their starting five, really they have like Boban and TJ McConnell. But I don't even know who they play often. They have Mike Scott, who I don't think they even play. But yeah, it's going to be rough for them whenever their starters aren't out there, so they're probably going to have to mix in the starters with the bench players. I think what they need to work on is their three-point shooting. They definitely need to get more shooters, because for right now, Tobias Harris can't really create his own shot. Joel Embiid can create his own shot in the post really well. Three-point, he really can't. Jimmy Butler can create his own shot. He just can't do it effectively, I don't think. I don't think he shoots that efficient. I believe, right now he's shooting 34%, which isn't bad, but it's not, great from three. Tobias shoots great numbers, can't create his own shot. And then Ben Simmons can get inside the paint, but he can't really do anything from the outside. JJ Redick can shoot great from the outside. He just can't create his own shot either. So they need to get someone who can create his own shot from three, probably. Or someone who can both play make and also shoot. Unlike Ben Simmons. They will also play the Brooklyn Nets or Detroit. I don't think they should have any problem with those teams. I think Brooklyn will probably give them the biggest headache if they played them in the second round. I mean, the first round, sorry. Because they have, like I was saying earlier, D'Angelo Russell. Ben Simmons is a great defender, so he could shut that down. But they also have people like, what's his name? I don't know, I'm blanking. Spencer Dinwiddie. Players like Spencer Dinwiddie and players like that who I think can give their, like, JJ Redick a problem. But I think as long as their depth doesn't come to bite them, I think they can easily get through that. And their toughest problems are going to be facing the better teams like Toronto and Milwaukee. The Bostons are definitely an interesting team, Boston Celtics. They have a lot of talent, and they don't know what their rules are. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see once they make playoffs if they're going to do anything there. Kyrie, of course, one of the clutchest players of all time, one of the greatest dribblers of all time. He's a big advantage for them in the playoffs. He's going to be the one taking the clutch shots, probably, hopefully. Hopefully it's not Terry Rozier like last year or Jason Tatum. But Kyrie definitely is someone that can be a game changer for them in these playoffs. Also, what they need to work on, I think, what their good strengths are is their depth. If they play their roles correctly, players like Marcus Smart can be a great defender. Terry Rozier, if he plays like he did last year, he can be a great player to create some more offense for his team. Al Horford, if they ever end up playing Philadelphia, he'll definitely shut down Joel Embiid sometimes. Gordon Hayward, if he can step up like he has been doing some of these games. Like, I believe he dropped 30 on the Warriors in a game when he shot. So if he can do something like that, it might have been the Kings, one of those teams. But if he can play something like he did there, this team can definitely have a chance. I think the biggest problem is their infighting and their problems with knowing what they need to do and when they need to do it, what their rules are, things like that. And if they're going to be 4th and 5th seed, they're definitely going to have a hard time in the second round facing the Bucks, because I feel like last year they beat the Bucks because the Bucks didn't have a good coach. It didn't have good 3-point shooting all around yet. They had Middleton, but that's really about the most they had. Brogdon wasn't shooting as much as he does now. So I think this year they probably have a way harder time than they did last year. Tatum needs to step up. He's been really disappointing this year. He's 21 now, really disappointing, and he needs to definitely up his things. I believe he should score like 15.8 points right now on 45% shooting, 37 from 3. I mean, he's doing all right. He just, needs to play like he did last year in playoffs if they want to have a big push this year. The next team is the Pacers. The Pacers have been super surprising. They're kind of like my team, the Clippers, where they lost their best player. Theirs was to injury, not to trading. But everyone thought they're going to drop out. And just, they do it somehow, They win games and stay consistent even with their best player out. It's definitely a team effort. Players like Bojan Bogdanovic dropping 18 points per game on great percentages. He's definitely someone who's, I feel like, very underrated. Last year, I know when they played the Warriors a few times, he would go off. He's definitely a great scorer who needs to be more recognized. Players like Wesley Matthews have been helping their defense. Replacing Victor Oladipo, who's one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. I think he led in steals last year. Wesley Matthews has been a great pickup for them off of I believe he was a free agent signing after he got released. So he's definitely, along with Miles Turner, one of their helping their defense really grow. People like Thad Young, trying to think of who else. Domantas Sabonis, like I said earlier, Bojan Bogdanovic are definitely great players on their offense. Tyreek Evans isn't doing as good as he did last year with the Grizzlies, where he had that breakout season, but he's not doing horrible. He's still putting up some pretty good points per game. And then they have people like Darren Collison. I feel like he's also very underrated. The amount of defense he brings, the amount of offense he brings, he has a lot of stuff for this team. And people don't really see it because they see Depot, and see all the stuff he has since he's such a well-rounded, all-around player. They don't realize that Darren Collison is just as good as him. The next team, actually, they're going to play the Celtics first round. I feel like that's going to be tough for them. I saw Kyrie at the game winner against them just last night. He's definitely something they're going to have a hard time covering. They're just going to have their team defense with Miles Turner and players like Collison. They're just going to have to play a well-rounded team game. And I feel like it's going to be rough for them to overcome the star power Boston has in the first round. And then if they move on, I don't think they have really any chance against the Bucks. The next team's the Pistons. The Pistons are rough, man. They got Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, obviously, and then not much else. Blake and Andre have been really carrying this team. Andre had a bad start to the season, but later in the season he's been playing pretty good. Right now he's averaging 17 points and 15.5 rebounds, so that's great. And Blake Griffin was the all-star this year, dropping 25, I believe, right? 24, he's playing 7, and then 7 rebounds and 5 assists. So he's been playing very well. I believe he's shooting really good from 3 also, 36%. And he's definitely changed his perception around. People were starting to turn on him since he lost the dunks and started playing not as great as he used to. He started to change the way he played, had a 3-pointer this game, and now he's good. Their problem is just they're not really deep at all besides their 2 big men. I believe their starting guard it's Reggie Jackson. I believe it might be someone like Jose Calderon, but it might be Bruce. It's someone not great. They just need to add someone else to this team. They need to get rid of their bad contracts like John Lure and Reggie Jackson, and they need to pick up some good wing talent for this team because they haven't had anyone in a while that have really added to it. Like the last one I can think of is like Brandon Jennings and Ben Gordon, and they have not been here for years, and they haven't had much since. Reggie Jackson had like a promising year, like a few years ago, and then he hasn't done anything since then. So I don't think they're gonna do anything in playoffs. Their first round, they're probably gonna play the third seed, which I already forgot. They're gonna play the third seed, which is the Sixers, and I think the Sixers are going to easily shut them down. Drummond always has a tough time with Embiid, because Embiid makes him angry, and he easily gets fouled out. And then Blake Griffin, obviously, is a great player, so I think if they are going to win, it's going to have to be through those two, putting up some big performances. So if they can, do what they normally do, and have those two big men get crazy amounts of things, and get them in, like, situations where Blake's either on bias, I would say, is who they'd probably have the best time against, because they don't want to go against Embiid. I don't know. I just think they don't really have that big of a chance. Brooklyn, the underdog team in the East this year, I don't expect them to come out here and do it, but they've been playing great. D'Angelo Russell, who was traded away for not being a leader on the Lakers, ends up being one of the best guards on this underrated teams, and leading this team to a playoff berth that no one thought they could have gotten. Right now he's averaging 21 points and 7 assists on good shooting percentages. Him and Spencer Dinwiddie are definitely two of the best duo guards in the East. I think Spencer Dinwiddie is probably second right now in 6th Man of the Year running. The only thing I'm worried about for them is I don't think they have enough all-around talent. They got Dinwiddie and they got Russell, who are two great guards. LeVert, who's a good guard, who started off the season really well. It looked like he was going to lead Brooklyn to the playoffs. And then D'Angelo Russell took over after his injury and just kind of brought on a whole back the thing at the beginning of Russell's career on the Lakers, where it was like, everyone I remember loved deloading, and it was like he had a whole bunch of support because he was on the Lakers, of course, with Kobe. And they snitched and everyone turned against him, and then right now it's back to everyone loving him again. So, yeah, the other things they have is Jared Allen, of course. They have some great young players like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. I believe Ed Davis is only 20-something, 26, 25. But yeah, they have a lot of young, good defensive talent. They also have veterans like DeMarre Carroll and Jared Dudley, who are really good locker room guys. I forgot to mention Joe Harris. Joe Harris is definitely going to help with his 3 points. He can shoot very effectively. I believe Shabazz Napier is shooting good. No, he's not. Never mind. Ignore that. But Shabazz Napier is still a pretty good guard for them to have. I think their problem is just they don't have enough stars to deal with either of the first two teams, I don't have enough stars to deal with the Raptors or the Bucks. I think they just don't have anyone that can really, get up there with them and really effectively stop them, no one on their team I think is having any chance against Giannis. No one on their team I think is having any chance against Kawhi. And I feel like those guys can combine to stop any of the things Russell's going to have with them, so it's going to be tough, to deal with that. And the last seed right now is Miami. Miami is it just seems like they're playing good around Wade. And it's nice to see, Dragic, since he came back, I'm pretty sure is putting on a pretty good season. He might be leading their team in scoring right now. And, Dwayne Wade, of course, is Dwayne Wade. He's having his goodbye season, and it's going very good for him. Happy for him. They have players like Hassan Whiteside, who has, very controversial. He probably, if it's going to be like last year, he probably won't play it much. They got Kelly Olynyk, who's an alright player. It's just, I don't know. I think right now it's just the Wade Magic, and then they're going to make playoffs, and they're going to do almost nothing, But it's cool to see Wade back in playoffs for one last time. And yeah, I think they really won't have that much chance in the East, but it'll be nice to see Wade. And then if they don't make it, it'll be the Magic. The Magic are just I feel like, just Vucevic's crazy season has kind of led them to playoffs, and I don't think they're going to have much they can do there. Aaron Gordon, I believe, has been playing better than his last few seasons. Right now he's averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, which is all above his career averages. Shooting alright percentages. I just think, even though they have great players like Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic, Terrence Ross, I know, has been making a mark off the bench. Right now he's averaging 15 points, 3 rebounds, shooting good percentages. I just don't think they have the the factor that since they're going to be a lower seed, they're going to have to deal with all this star power and all this really great teams that are in the first, 3 seeds. And I don't think they have enough talent to overcome that above a few of their starting guys. I don't think I'll trust DJ Augustine or Evan Fournier or any of these guys when it comes to playoff time, They really haven't been there, and I don't think they really have the power to do that. Alright, so now we'll move on to the Western Conference. Of course, the first seed right now is the Golden State Warriors. There's not much to say about this team. It's still the stacked team that it once was. And DeMarcus Cousins has shown that his injury is not holding him back. He's playing great, even though he's playing through that injury. Playing 16 points, 8 rebounds right now on limited minutes. He's still playing great, man, and he's the perfect fit for this Warriors team. It's just the amount of offense they have, I think, is impossible to match. And then they have the defense to match it with Draymond, Iggy. Definitely Sean Livingston was playing some good defense. Clay, of course, plays great defense. The only thing I think that could stop them if they get bored and they just don't want to play as hard defense. They give them some possessions, but you can never count them out. I feel like Curry and Durant are the 2 biggest performers when it comes to playoff time, and if you are any chance of beating them, it's gonna have to be playing hard all the time, making almost every shot you take, and then locking down defense. So I don't think there's any team in the league really that can do that besides maybe the Rockets or the Bucks. But I also don't think the Bucks will be able to outscore them if they're having a hot night. And I'm worried about the Rockets' defense against them, so I don't think they'll have any chance. Right now, their matchup is the Thunder, which will probably be one of the toughest teams for them to face in the West. I still don't think they'll have really any chance. Paul George has been having a hard time dealing with his shoulder injury, and he hasn't been playing as great as he was when he was leading the MVP candidacy. Well, not leading, but he was up there in the middle of the season. So I don't know. I just don't think they'll have much of a chance. Just, they need to, I don't know, they need something. They need to draft some other good guys to surround them, get some more shooters, because right now it's really just Paul George and not much else. Russell Westbrook's been not playing that great. And besides those 2, they don't have many great shot makers. Steven Adams is a great all-around player. He's not a scorer, he's not going to score a bunch of points for them. Russ is shooting alright. He was shooting better a few days ago or weeks ago, but he's still not averaging great percentages. Playoff Westbrook hasn't really been that great. He's averaging a triple-double, of course, but that's not that big of a deal anymore. He's done it 3 years in a row. People do kind of underrate how great that is, but still, I think people also overrate how great that is. Thinking he should be MVP every season. I just don't see it, man. I don't see them getting close to the Warriors. The second seed in the West is the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are definitely one of the surprise teams also this year that came out. People thought they were going to be good because, of course, Jokic had a great season last year. But I don't think people thought they're going to be, this good where it's just them and the Warriors competing for that first seed in the Western Conference. Right now they are second. They're tied with the same record, so it's not really that big of a difference. Nikola Jokic, of course, leading that team. He's a great player offensively. He averages 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. That's insane numbers for a big man. Shooting great percentages as well. His 3-point percentage is only 32%. So it's not the best, but still for a big man, that's not bad. Also, they have players like Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, those type of young players that really haven't been proven yet, that are a big part of how their teams are playing this year. So it's going to be tough for them, I think, to deal with the playoffs for the first time and be expected to put up these numbers they've been putting in the regular season. Luckily they have Paul Millsap, who I think is one of the best veterans you can have on your team. He's such a well-rounded player, and he does so much for a team. I feel like he's someone you really want to be your veteran presence on your team. Yeah, I just think that their young team doesn't have enough experience in the playoffs that they can make a big push. Right now, I believe they'll be facing the Spurs, which I could say they could win that one pretty easily. I don't trust DeRozan after the Raptors years. He's never had a great playoff performance. It's always been mediocre with him. So I'd say they have a good chance of beating them, and then going into the second round to be someone like Houston or be someone like Portland or Utah, which I think they will have a harder time against because of all the ability that those teams have. And then they've seen these moments last year, and they're used to it, and the Nuggets aren't. So I think that'll be their toughest challenges to overcome experience. The third seed's the Rockets, probably everyone's second favorite to win the finals. If they can get past the Warriors, who they'd have to face in the conference finals. They did last year, of course. They were up 3-2, and Chris Paul got injured when they got down 3-3, and then, they shot 0 for 27 from 3 and kind of choked away that last game and had that close chance. They were so close to beating the Warriors. They just couldn't do it. This year, I feel like they have a better chance. Of course, James Harden having a brilliant season, one of the best scoring seasons ever, probably the best offensive season ever, going 36.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, with 2 steals. His defense, it's really been upgraded. He's definitely doing a way better job at reading passing lanes and being a post defender, doing stuff like that. I feel like things like Mike D'Antoni said, where he's the best post defender in the league. Calm down. He's not a great defender. He's not Paul George level or Victor Oladipo level, but he's definitely upped his defense. He's no longer a liability. I think he's definitely helping now. Of course, he does the thing where he shoots a lot of free throws, and some people sometimes overreact to the amount of free throws he shot. But still, I think, it's just a thing. And once he gets to the playoffs, that's going to be a tough time for him. If he isn't able to rely more on the regular shots than the free throws, and he's going to have to deal with the playoff calling being more easy to, it's going to be harder to get calls then. So that's something he's going to have to deal with. Of course, they have Chris Paul. He does have a lot of playoff experience, but he doesn't have a lot of deep run experiences. But recently he's been playing well in the playoffs, so I feel like this year he'll do better. He started off not great this season. He wasn't doing much before he was injured. He wasn't doing much after he was injured. But recently he's really stepped up his game from the games I've been seeing. He's still an all-around great player. He has a lot of assists, 8 assists, still scoring 15.5 points, shooting good percentages. Not great percentages, but still pretty good. I feel like when it comes to playoff time, he'll definitely have the motivation to step up his game. I feel like that's the biggest thing for him is his motivation. Because he's, he hasn't done much in his playoff career, and he really wants to get past Western Conference Finals. He did last year, so he finally got to Western Conference Finals. I feel like this is the year he might step up even more to try to get past there and improve his legacy. Because right now I feel like people see Curry higher than Chris Paul. And I don't know if Chris Paul, I think his motivation is trying to prove himself. Because he has had a couple of times where he hasn't shown up. So I feel like this year might be his motivation to show up. Of course, Clint Capella is great rebounder, great defender. He can really, he has a really good job at catching lobs from the 2 guards in the Houston. Their biggest problem, I think, is their depth. James Harden, lots of the time, scores 40 points per game, and they win by 5. So they need to have players step up off the bench. Like Fareed was stepping up earlier in the season. I'm not sure if he's playing as great now. He's still probably averaging good numbers, averaging 13.5 points, like 9 rebounds, shooting good percentages. It's just that, he needs to step up. Players like Austin Rivers, Eric Gordon, who hasn't been playing up to his usual standards. Gerald Green needs to stop chucking up shots. He needs to take smarter shots than he normally does because he doesn't have good shot selection. I just feel like, if they want to be good, they just have to have their depth. Their depth needs to play well. Eric Gordon needs to play well. Kenneth Fareed needs to play well. And Harden needs to turn over the ball less and be more efficient with his shots. The next, they're playing the Clippers first round. My team, I feel like they have a really good chance of winning that just because overall their offense is great and the Clippers' our defense is bad. And I don't think the Clippers have the offense to match the amount of offense Houston can put on. The next team is the Portland Trail Blazers. Of course, they've been playing great before Nurkic. Well, they still played great after Nurkic went out. But I feel like that's the thing that probably ended their chances. Right now, they still have Lillard, of course, who was one of the most underrated players until everyone called him underrated. So now he's just rated. Right now, I'm pretty sure he's probably like third in the league in scoring. He's probably averaging like 28 points. Let's see. Averaging 26 points per game. Putting up really good numbers. Shooting good percentages. It's just the same thing every year, These guys always get a top 4 seed. End up losing, in the first round to whatever team they play, or end up losing in the second round to the Warriors. So, it just depends, I think this year probably will be the same thing. Since they're probably will be like 4 seed, 5th seed. They'll probably win the first round against either the Clippers or the Jazz. I'd say they will probably win those matchups. Just because of the amount of power Damian and CJ have. Actually, the Jazz will probably be tough. But if they play Clippers, they'll probably beat the Clippers because their offensive power. And they'll probably move on to Warriors, and I can't see them beating the Warriors in a 7-round series, or 7-game series. I just don't think they have the defense, and definitely their offense is good. Like, it's very good, but it's not able to match up the Warriors because of the lack of defense their guards have. They just can't handle Curry and Clay, and it always comes to bite them. So I feel like definitely the Portland Trail Blazers are going to have a tough time. The 5th seed is the Jazz, who Portland play right now. And I feel like definitely Jazz have probably an advantage over them now I think about it. Their defense is very much better, and their offense is still great. I think a lot of underrated players the Jazz possess. Players like Rudy Gobert, who's usually up for Defensive Player of the Year. I believe he is this year, too. Definitely one of the best defenders in the league. People give him enough credit for it. He adds a lot to his team, helps his team win a lot of games because of his defense. This year, still averaging 16 points per game, so he's also putting in the work on the offensive side, shooting 66.7%. So, he probably doesn't shoot a lot of different shots besides just inside dunks and layups, but he's still doing pretty good for the amount of offense he provides for his team. But he doesn't need to put that much because, of course, they have Donovan Mitchell, one of the best young guards in the league. Right now, he's putting up around 23.4 points, shooting good percentages. He's definitely a big part of the team. If he can play like he did last year, they have a very good chance of beating the Trailblazers. He is great all around. He can do anything for this team. And the players like Korver, Joe Ingles, they have a lot of good three-pointers to surround him with. They also have more playmakers than just Mitchell. Last season they had him too, but I was thinking like Ricky Rubio. So those two are definitely two really good playmakers who can help players like Ingles and Korver. And then Gobert can get some open shots because of those three-point shooters. They have also other good defenders like Jay Crowder, Derek Favors. And I feel like there's a great all-around team, and that's probably can give them the chance to upset the Trailblazers. Or give them the biggest chance to upset in the West. The 5th seed is the Clippers. The Clippers are a great depth team. They play great as a team. There's not really one star carrying the team. Of course, players like Lou Wills lead the team. Players like Lou Will, Montrez, off the bench definitely make the team what it is. Both of them, I'm pretty sure, lead the team in scoring besides Danilo. The one problem with them, they don't have anyone who can really create their own shot besides Lou Will. I feel like in the first round against the I forgot already. Sorry, against whoever the third seed is, definitely it'll be tough for them because they don't have enough star power against the Rockets. They don't have enough star power to match the amount of stuff James Harden will bring. Danilo is a great scorer, but he can't create his own shot. He can shoot great mid-range shots. He can shoot great open shots wherever he's shooting from, but it's going to be tough for him. The only thing I think the Clippers have advantage over is probably they have a lot more heart. I'd say they have a lot of players playing more tough than the Rockets. Players like Patrick Beverley would definitely be motivated this playoffs to make Harden's life a little worse. You know, I don't think he really cares about old teammates, about how their feelings towards him will be after the playoff series. I feel like definitely it'll be a game where Harden's not going to get easy baskets. He's going to have to work for every basket he gets. Players like Shea are also great defenders. Luka Mbamute, Montrez, a lot of great defenders. Garrett Temple. It's going to require, if the Clippers want to win this, it's going to require them to be almost perfect from shooting, which I think is going to be very tough for them to do. You know, also I think Chris Paul might be a little bit more motivated because it's his old team, and they feel like they won the trade and say they're best team in LA and glory on this, so he might also have some motivation to beat them. But yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be easy win for the Rockets, honestly. The 7th seed right now is the Spurs. They, of course, have a great coach in Greg Popovich. LaMarcus Aldridge, ever since they've been pushing back for the playoffs, he's been a big piece for them. DeRozan is still playing good, but not people. I don't think it should be, since last year he's shown how big of a star he could be if he gets the chance. This year he's averaging how many points? 21 points and 9 rebounds with 1.5 blocks about, with 52% shooting. I just don't think if the Spurs want to have any chance against the Nuggets, probably what's going to be is they're going to have to play great defense as they can, because they have a great coach in Popovich. It's just that it's going to be tough because they don't have a lot of great talent on the defensive side, and their offensive side talent's not really great from three, so it's going to be tough for them to match the amount of scoring the Nuggets bring with their all-around offense created by Jokic. Aldridge, of course, is a great scorer and a great rebounder, so he might be tough for Jokic to get his rebounds, but I still think he'll be comfortable scoring on Aldridge and passing around Aldridge. DeRozan, I feel like I don't trust him in playoffs anymore. You know, he's had a lot of dud seasons in playoffs. This year, he is averaging 21 points and 6 rebounds and 6 assists. Shooting horrible from three, shooting 16%. It's just, his mid-range game is great, but he needs to get a three-point shot if he wants to be an effective player in this league, because right now it's not working out for him, just shooting that mid-range shot. Rudy Gay is a good player for them. He's just, not going to play defense. He's better ISO. He's probably going to come out the bench and do good things. I think they don't have much of a chance unless they play great team defense and people step up. Like Deontay Murray probably has to step up. Derek White's going to step up with their young guards. It's just, I think it's going to be tough for them. The last team, of course, the Thunder, who I mentioned earlier, I feel like they have not a good chance to upset because they're playing the Warriors. But if they move up, I definitely think they have the best chance to upset. It's just Westbrook and George are so great that these players around them don't need to do much, so they can really just fill in their roles and they'll have a great team. Westbrook, of course, is an all-around player besides the defense, really, and he can create the most different opportunities for his team. Paul George, of course, is a great scorer, a great defender. He's not one of the best passers, but he doesn't need to be when you have Westbrook averaging 10 assists per game, and then you have Schroeder, who's also a great passer as well. I feel like their biggest problem is also their all-around scoring. They don't have a lot of players off the bench who can score at a high rate. They're going to have to rely a lot on their stars in Paul George and Westbrook. But definitely, I think, because of how great those players are, and how good at Westbrook is at getting the ball around and creating open shots for players, and then how good Steven Adams is at getting offensive rebounds and getting them the second chance points. I think if they don't play the Warriors in the first round, that's they have the biggest chance to upset any other team they play. I just feel like if they play the Warriors, they don't have much of a chance because the amount of star talent they have just isn't enough to overcome the great games they have in playoffs that Steph Curry and Durant and Clay all bring. The only thing I think that could bring the Warriors down would be Draymond not having a great game and getting mad and messing up a lot, like he has shown in the past he could do if he gets angry. Now, since I mentioned all the teams, their strengths and weaknesses, I'm just going to pick the winner series, and then I'll show you who I think will win. So, the first game in the East, the first series would be Milwaukee versus Miami. Obviously, I would choose Milwaukee with that one just because they're a great all-around game, and Miami just doesn't have any star players that can match that. Same thing with Brooklyn-Toronto. I think that even though D'Angelo Russell is great and they have a great young team, Toronto's just too deep and too talented on both sides of the ball. They can stop anything that Brooklyn tries to get done. Philadelphia versus Detroit. I feel like Philadelphia will win that one. Definitely because Philly's just 4-star players I feel like is enough to overcome the 2-star players that Drummond and Blake Griffin. The amount of stuff they have to do, I think it's just they can't do enough to match the amount of stuff that the Philadelphia 76ers top 5 can do against them. The Boston versus Indiana, I'll probably pick Boston to win that one, just because I feel like Indiana's done a great job at working about Depot. But I think when it comes to playoffs, I'll have a tough time overcoming Boston's star power of Irving and Jason Tatum and Gordon Hayward. But they just have too many players that can do too much to them, and they can match up with their players like Bogdanovich, Then after that, I'd probably say then be Milwaukee versus Boston. I feel like Milwaukee would take that one just because their all-around play can keep Irving down long enough and stop some of their players like Tatum and that Al Horford with their all-around team defense that Budenholzer and Giannis worked on together and created here in Milwaukee. So I feel like that would be the thing that'll stop Boston from moving on past Milwaukee. The Raptors vs. Sixers I think is interesting. I think the Sixers will win that one just because they're better offense, because they can do everything on offense and not just, score a lot inside of mid-range. They have the three-point line too. So I feel like that will be what puts them apart because their defenses are very similar. And then the two East teams before that, and it'll end up being Milwaukee versus Toronto, I think. And I feel like Milwaukee will have a slight edge in that just because Giannis is, I feel like he's a little bit better all around. I think Kawhi Leonard is definitely a better rebounder. I feel like he's just as good of a defender. So I think because their teams are very similar in play style, I feel like Milwaukee just has a little bit more of an edge because of their star player. And then from the West, I believe Golden State will... Right now, they play like it is right now versus Oklahoma City. So, like, Golden State will probably win them, 7. Not even 7, I'd probably say 6. I feel like their all-around stars are better than George's and Westbrook's 2-star game. I think it's too much for them to catch up with. I believe right now, Denver versus San Antonio, Denver will win. Just because they have a better all-around team. And their players, I feel like, are definitely more skilled than the Spurs players are all around. They're not, the Spurs players aren't great three-point shooters. I feel like Denver's going to beat them with 3. Houston versus LA. LA doesn't have the star power to get matched up with Houston. So I feel like Houston, just James Harden's going to carry them past that series pretty easily, even though Patrick Beverley's going to give them a hard time. I feel like he's going to be able to get past that, and then Chris Paul can probably put up a great game, and same with Clint Capella. Since the Clippers don't really have a great big man besides Zubac. And besides that, Harrell is 6'8", so Capella's going to have an easy time with that. Portland versus Utah, I feel like it's going to be the only upset this year. I feel like Utah is going to upset Portland. Just think their all-around game's better than the Trailblazers. Lillard and CJ are great. They just need to get someone who can... They need to get a better wing defender. Amina's a good wing defender, but he can't play offense at all. They need to get someone who's a better all-around wing defender, like Covington or someone like that can all-around do it. I still think they have enough to match Donovan Mitchell's all-around game. The shooters like Joe Ingles, Kyle Korver, the playmakers like Ricky Rubio and Donovan Mitchell again, and then Rudy Gobert adds to that defense like Jay Crowder and Donovan Mitchell also brings. So then it'll be Utah versus Golden State. I feel like Golden State will win that one just because they can easily outpower Utah with the stars. Of course, Cousins probably won't have that great of a game, and with Draymond, but I feel like Curry, Clay, and Kevin Durant will definitely bring them past the Jazz on that one. Rockets versus Nuggets, I feel like Rockets will beat the Nuggets on that one. Just the Nuggets aren't as experienced as the Rockets. The Rockets, of course, got to 7 against the Warriors. And then I feel like just the amount of star power that Harden brings will be enough to just overpower all the Nuggets' offense or defense, because they don't have that great of a defense besides like Millsap. I feel like, just James Harden will overpower them. And it'll be Golden State versus Houston. And I feel like it'll be similar to last year. It'll be very close throughout it. I still think Golden State's going to win because just addition to addition to DeMarcus Cousins, I feel like makes their offense that much better. Where last year, where the Rockets were playing way better defense than they were this year, shutting them down, I feel like the Warriors' offense has gotten better and the Rockets' defense has gotten worse. So I feel like this year they'll be able to overcome the great defense they played last year to keep them out of it and be able to overcome that this time. The only way I see the Rockets beating the Warriors is if James Harden has a James Harden regular season moment. Like, he plays like regular season James Harden, where he plays great. And he plays like that and they don't have a horrible collapse. I feel like they have a chance for sure. But right now, I just don't see it happening. So I see Golden State moving on to the finals against the Bucks, and I see Golden State winning in 6 or 7. Just because, overall, all around, they're just such a great team that they can do everything that other teams cannot. They can just outplay you both sides. They can outscore you with Curry, Clay, Kevin Durant, DeMarcus. All of them can hit really good amount of shots. All of them can score 40 on you any day of the week. DeMarcus can out-rebound you by 20. Draymond can get a triple-double with blocks and steals. Just, they can do so many things that can change the game. And I don't think anyone will be able to match what they can do. So that's it. That's it for this first podcast. You guys like it, just, like it, let me know. I like hearing about different ways people feel about things, so if you want to leave me a comment or something, tell me what you think about what I said, who you think is going to win the finals, who you think is going to win the conference finals, who it's going to move on, just let me know. Anyways, this is the end of the first Dribble, Throw, and Drive podcast. Thank you.